Okay, here you can see I've taken all of the parts of the bumper and I've just kind of sort of mocked them up in place. Helped me get a good inventory, figure things out. One of the parts in the diagram, which the diagram's detailed and not. It's got everything in there, but it's not really labeled real well. It's definitely not a step-by-step instruction manual to this project. Okay, so in the past what I'd seen here is there used to be a piece that would go in here, and inside here there's these crumple zones, and mine have actually been used to hit something with this truck and demolish the factory bumper, which led to this project. But they've eliminated that part. So now this piece here will bolt straight up to this. Because of the nature of this, we can move it left and right and up and down because of the slots in this piece and in this piece. Okay, so I've measured the center section here, and we have 39 3/4 plates up on the bumper mounts, and measure across here, I get 45 3/4. A 6-inch difference. So what I'm thinking is I'll take these brackets and locate this edge here about 3 inches back. Okay, first official tack welds on this project, and I realized my first mistake. My first mistake is that this edge isn't lined up with my 3-inch mark. This is what's supposed to be lined up. So I'm gonna have to grind off those tack welds real quick. 6-point. Uh-oh. Okay, I've got about 3 or 4 tacks in each one of these bumper mounts, and it looks like I just have the center section kind of up resting on the frame bumper mounts and the move bumper mounts that I've tacked up. And it looks like it's pretty good as far as coming out to this edge. Okay, here is the center section of the bumper tacked to the wings and mounted on the truck, and no fault of the move bumper kit itself. I'm just not happy with the way these lines are already coming out. So what I decided I needed to do was remove the bumper and modify the mounts to correct this angle. Okay, so after removing the bumper from the back from the truck, it's time to cut these mounts off. Here I have both the guard and the handle removed so I can get in there. The more things you put on these bumpers, the harder it is to access things. So one tip is definitely keep checking your fitment as you go, because it's going to be harder to correct mistakes later. I cut them as best I could with the cutoff wheel and then used a hammer to knock it out. Across the top right, you might be able to see a little scribed line across the top right of that piece there, and that scribed line goes to the upper left hand corner, and that's an angle that I'm going to grind into that, hopefully to correct. This is pure guesstimation as far as how much I needed to do, but I figured it'd be better to do less than more at this stage. Unfortunately, all I had access to at the house was this high-speed Harbor Freight belt sander, so it wasn't quite up to the task. I mean, it was removing metal, but it wasn't doing too much. I'm a student in a technical college right now. I have access to lots of tools, equipment, and people to help me on this project. So I wanted to do it at home with minimal help, but I ended up having to complete this project at school. Here you can see we got the bumper back mounted again. We re-tacked this bumper. It really takes probably 2 or 3 people, in my opinion, to get that thing held, those wings held at the right angle to properly tack them up. You really have to tweak it to get it lined up well, and I think we did pretty good. You can see there the new lines. We'll show those off a little bit better later. After that, we moved into putting the uprights in for the grill guard. Here you see them tacked. We used the skin material from the move bumper kit as our width, to estimate how we were going to tack these on. Here we got the idea to use a piece of filler metal in the top to keep the top width identical to the bottom width, and that allowed us to shift the angle, the vertical angle left and right as necessary to get things fitted up right. Here we're trying to remount the tubing for the top left and right piece on the grill guard, which needs to be coped to fit properly. There'll be plenty of pictures and videos on the coping process, but the first thing we tried was to open these up a little bit to get them into the notcher that we have for the iron worker in the welding shop. That didn't really accomplish what we wanted, but it was the first thing that we tried, so I'm showing it here. Okay, like I said, notching on the iron worker machine didn't really accomplish. We weren't able to accomplish what we needed to as far as getting the correct cope into the tubing. So we ended up bringing it over to this milling machine because we had access to it. You don't have access to equipment like this, which most people aren't going to. I wouldn't if I wasn't in the situation I was in right now. It wouldn't be hard at all to do this amount of coping with an angle grinder or any kind of tools along those lines that you have. The coping that you see us putting in here was the extent of any coping we had to do in this entire project. It was just for this particular fit up right here on the brush guard. So the rest, any other gaps or anything else that we had, what we filled in with filler material later when we were welding. Here you can see this was the second one that we did, and we made a mistake doing this one. Aside from the fact that it's not coped as well as the first one, you can see that the angles just look a little off on this one here. Alright, and as we pan around the bumper here, you can get a better look at some of the new lines there and how well that the bumper fits up a lot closer to the fender and to the headlight there. You don't really want to go too close because you might see it right underneath the headlight there where you can access the screws if you ever need to remove it. So it's part of the reason we kind of had to choose the lesser of two evils on how far to space down and bring it up. Now here you might notice what our mistake is coming up, but it's obvious when you see what we did was we put that bottom left one piece in there, we put it in mirror image reversed, and so we had to take that back out, and here it is placed back in, and we got pretty lucky. We'll have to cope that side again there, but you can see pretty much all of the wrong cope fits nicely inside right there, so we had no problems.
Yeah, fine. It's a bit more of a gap than I wanted.
I left a lot of welding in this video just so people could see some of the challenges that we came across and how we ended up solving them. If you get bored by watching people weld, which you probably don't if you're ordering one of these kits, but feel free to skip ahead.
Don't like it. Don't like that either. Don't like either one of those. I think it should have all been done vertical at first, gone down instead of. Like that.
That looks better.
Look down and see if it's straight. Come here right up. Yeah, right there. Come up, yeah. There. On the tip. Yeah.
So one of the next things we tackled was trying to figure out what the best way to put the light pods, the LED light pods in this bumper were. It was a little tricky to figure out exactly what it was that the plans were showing. And to be honest, I wasn't really a huge fan of the layout that they had in the plans. Okay, we tried several different ways to get these things fitted up, experimented a lot, and then just kind of accidentally stumbled across a way that personally I think is superior. It's superior um, for my needs than how I deciphered from the plans. It eliminates that polygonal piece and allows you to access the mounting hardware from underneath the bumper without having to reach around anything. So eliminates one piece. We just had to modify the bracket by taking about 3 inches off of that one side, and also my decision was to mount the light a little bit further forward where it actually protrudes from the bumper, so more of the light gets out of the bumper. Most of the bumpers I've seen have them mounted within the bumper. Wasn't a huge fan of that, but I was a little concerned about protecting the light with it being protruding from the bumper like that. Okay, another design choice on my end was to notch that plate that sits underneath the LED light bar. This is the 30-inch light bar, so that the mounting hardware could come straight down and mount to these slotted tabs that are included in the kit as well. The way that the plan show is to have those tabs run vertically down from the top of the bumper. I thought that this way that I chose, it gives better access to the mounting hardware for the light if I ever need to remove it. One of the other options that I really wanted to include was a receiver hitch in the front if I wanted to add any accessories such as a license plate bracket or anything like that. I would tell you that the method that I used, the general idea, was from another YouTuber who did a move bumper install on an F-350 dually, if I remember right. He shows better than I could probably explain how he laid out the hole for the hitch, and really all credit goes to him. I'll try to put a link in the description, but if you just search on YouTube for F-350 move bumper install, I'm sure you'll find it. Okay, to clear some of the material on the truck around the headlights, we decided it was going to be a good idea to take some of this excess material off of this tubing for the grill guard. This is probably really the only other modification that you'll need to do. Alright, here we go with the bumper in its nearly finished form, with minor prep work required to get ready for powder coat or paint. One of the things I'm really pleased with is the way we mounted these lights in here. You can access all these lights easily from the front of the bumper with no need to get under, no need to worry about access to them. Some of the custom features that we put on this bumper is the 2-inch receiver hitch down here for holding any accessories that I choose to put on later. One other feature, mounting tab in there for a forward-facing camera. There's also shrouds installed around these lights. I think I've decided to go with trying out the flood style LED pods on the outside. Those will hopefully work well as fog lights. Spotlight style LED pods on the inside edge. 30-inch LED light bar. All of these accessories still need to be wired in. We'll work on that when it's off for finishing, as well as wiring in where my diesel block heater cord can be plugged in. From inside the truck, you really can't even tell that you've got this bumper on visually. Weight-wise and handling, it's got about 200 extra pounds sitting on the front of the truck, so you can tell you've got something else up there. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video and hope that it was helpful for you in your build, and stay tuned for part 2 where we'll show off the finished bumper.